just for the people. We are the people.
I need to call Jaleesa.
Hey girl.
Jelly.
What you doing?
It's time to start planning for the 4th annual Millionaire Mindset Mixer.
The mixer?
I know it's early.
It's only February.
But this is perfect timing. It allows us to be even bigger and even better. This year is going to be the biggest financial literacy event Denver has ever seen.
Yeah, bigger and better. You say that every year. Yeah. You say that every year.
And better.
Bigger and better.
I know, but trust me, this year is the year of elevation.
All right, girl.
Get the team ready.
You know I got you. Hey, girl. It's time.
y'all trying to do? 24 karat magic in the air. It's just so bad.
Hey, y'all, hey.
Dr. Auset, I am super excited to be here. Thank you for joining. I'm like nervous because our
First guest, someone
literally who has been a hero to me all of my life and a hero to many. So we're gonna get through the first 15 minutes because we're actually gonna extend the second half of the show so we can have an extra 15 minutes with him. So I'm excited for our first guest, who will be the one and the only Bishop Acen Phillips. He is the bishop of the world, right? He has mentored and brought many, many ministers and leaders
out of his vision. So every month,
since we started, we are going to have a fireside chat with an elder, and we are starting it off with my grandfather. So I'm gonna get all of the logistic stuff out of the way. Don't forget that I am hosting a chakra class starting on the 3rd through the 7th. Reach out to www.healerausetmiriam.com so you can register and get into my class. I strongly recommend it. When you go through the class, you can come to the class for the rest of your life for free. Chakra 102 is coming, so make sure that you are ready for that. Got to do your work first, and then we're going to go into the next layer of that spiritual awakening, that spiritual healing, and what that means to show up. What else do I need to announce? Damo. Oh, I have to give a normal, regular shout out to Damo. Again, all I do is show up. Samia with the makeup. Today we had a touch of sunshine. So Samia with making sure that my face looks good, but Damo is responsible for making sure that this set. I literally am not good at technology. I'm not good at any of those things. And so I surround myself with people who can do it. I'm not good at makeup either. But Samia has been taking care of me for 10 years. I'm a Leo, so I'm loyal. When I'm a customer, I'm going to stay a customer. As long as you good to me, I'm going to be good to you. Damo has been good to me. I am on our network, not just for the people. We are the people. I am excited. Again, this is an independent network for us, by us, with us, to us, together us, all of that, right? And get to be our authentic selves. So it's not just me on this network.
there are many other authentic Black voices that are necessary with the platform that we need. So I'm excited to be here. This is why I'm here. So shout out to Damo, shout out to Tux, shout out to everyone on our network. Super excited to be here. What else do I need to announce? Y'all, I'm really like, and it's not like I don't get to see this man every day now, but it's still just, I'm just excited that my grandfather gets to be our first guest. So I'm trying to get through everything. Summer camp. So summer camp is coming very quickly. If you have elementary and middle school and high school students that need something to do in June from noon to 5, Monday through Friday, we have summer camp with our partner, A&B Athletics and Beyond. This is a beautiful partnership. We are growing this partnership to expand and to be even deeper, even wider, even higher than it already is. We're excited that this is our brother organization, as well as, let me shout out all of our real partners. Rise 5280, Millionaire Mindset Mixer, Kids Above Everything, Urban League of Metro Denver, and my grandfather is going to talk about some things. I'm sure he's going to bring up what he has going on in the next couple of weeks. But all of the partners who are genuine, authentic partners with us, we value you, we appreciate you, and thank you. Summer camp. Make sure that you register your children. You can go to vpac2020.org. I got a lot of websites. I know. I need to just get a little thing on the bottom that says this website for this website for this, right? But yes, vpac2020.org to go see everything that we got going on. Camp in Atlanta. We are taking dancers to Atlanta for 2 weeks to train. We live together, eat together, dance together, all of the things together. And then we come back to Denver, same thing. eat together, live together, dance together, all of that. And then August 3rd, remember August calendar, you are with Mama Auset all day. Mindset Mixer, then the show is on the 3rd. Super excited about all of what we have going on. Thankful to be used as a vessel to do the work. And yeah, I think
we can bring in my papa a little bit early because I think it's necessary. And I'm honored. Y'all don't see her, but she's here. My daughter is here to see me in action. So shout out to Jaye. Also, shout out to Diego. Shout out to Jalil. They are taking over VPAC. I don't do too much of anything. They make the decisions and they make things happen. So shout out to passing the torch. And I learned how to pass the torch from some very incredible elders who trusted me to start walking into my leadership. So it's been very easy to do that, which is why we are connecting. It feels good to know my grandfather is the guest tonight and then my daughter is like in the back watching. Like that's generational for sure. We gonna remind 24th in Atlanta. Make sure you are there. It is a fundraiser so that we can gift Black leaders with the financial support that they need. We're done asking. Let me say that again. We are done asking, begging, writing grants until our fingers fall off, only to get peanuts, only to be fighting over the same thing. Y'all do know if we circulated our dollar with each other that we can actually create the community that we need. But that's a whole, Bishop probably gonna talk about that too, because all that's happening tonight is y'all are gonna get to eavesdrop on how I get to sit at my grandfather's feet. So we're gonna remind you of the birthday party, and then when we come back, we're gonna bring in Bishop Acen Phillips. You can join the Zoom. The Zoom is in the YouTube link if you want to join. If you are in the Zoom, go ahead and raise your hand if you have a question or a comment or anything, but we will be right back. Launch party of Black Leadership Foundation was a huge success. Black Leadership Foundation, or BLF, is a tax-exempt organization that will close the philanthropic gap for Black-led, Black-serving organizations and businesses. BLF is dedicated to empowering and uplifting Black leaders to drive positive change in their communities and beyond. Our foundation provides financial resources, leadership development, and networking opportunities to support the growth and development of Black leaders in various fields. BLF acknowledges the disparities, systemic oppressions, racism, and any other mechanisms designed to keep us in the current conditions we are in. While we acknowledge those roadblocks, BLF is focused on creating and sustaining real solutions. We don't want to talk about it, we want to be about it. BLF raises funds through collective contribution levels. Individuals, businesses, organizations, and other philanthropic foundations are invited to financially contribute to the investment of Black leadership. BLF is dedicated to raising a minimum of $500,000 with 500 Level 1 contributors to distribute $100,000 to 4 deserving organizations. The ultimate goal is to raise $2.5 million by reaching and sustaining 500 contributors at Level 3. BLF aims to develop impactful leaders through executive and economic coaching rooted in collaborative fundraising that enhances the Black community. Black-led funding for Black-led, Black-serving companies and organizations will contribute to closing the gap in philanthropy, economic development, health and wellness of our communities. Become a Level 1 contributor and set the roots for BLF to grow. At this level, you donate $1,000. Become a Level 2 contributor and see the roots sprout for BLF. At this level, you donate $2,500. Become a Level 3 contributor and see BLF trees providing the oxygen that our communities need. At this level, you donate $5,000. BLF asks that each level contributor commits to a 3-year commitment. For the 2023 Harlem Nights launch party, BLF thanks all of our partners and everyone who came from across the country to celebrate with us. Join us August 24th, 2024 for the Hawaiian Luau Brunch at the Gathering Spot. Once we surpass our fundraising goal, we will be able to grant 4 deserving Black leaders with a minimum of $100,000 for their organization or business. For more information and how you can commit to becoming a collective contributor, visit us at www.blackleadershipfoundation.org. We cannot wait to see you next year. Let's change the world.
All right. We are back. You guys make sure that you go visit blackleadershipfoundation.org so that you can join us in August. It is so much fun. All right, I'm excited. We are going to bring in my grandfather. There is so much to say when you have a living legend that you come from. First of all, Bishop Acen Phillips has contributed to ministering around the world. He has been instrumental in a lot of your favorite bishops, pastors, apostles, teachers, all of that. He was their mentor, guide, all of the things. Mount Gilead Baptist Church is a historic church, historic Black church in the state of Colorado. And even beyond his ministry was even outside of the walls. And there's been so many contributions that he has made to the plight of us as a people, to the plight of what it means to be an authentic Christian, to family, to businessman, to all of the things. The most important and influential influence that he had on me was being a husband, a father, and a grandfather. I've been blessed to witness the love he had for my grandmother. As you all know, we recently lost her, and I've done a lot of tributing to her since the show has started. But you're gonna today get to see the other half. We don't have a topic. We don't have a rhyme or reason. I just want you all to listen to the wisdom that I get, and that's what I want this elder fireside chat to be, is that the elders can just come and pour into us as we need it, right? So I'm going to, without further ado, bring in my wonderful, handsome, loving grandfather, Bishop Acen Phillips. Hey, Papa.
Harlem Nights launch party.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored. God
Yes,
has been
you
extremely
are.
good all through the day.
Yes. So let's get the logistic stuff out of the way. Let's talk about what you have going on, what's coming up, how folks can support, and why you are doing Mother Black America.
We have coined the concept of the love of Mother Black America based on what the Black mother has done throughout history for the Black church. The focus on the Black church has always been centered on the female factor, the mother image. The church mother has been the one who has, throughout the legacy of our transition here in America, been the one who has kept the family together. And the theme comes from the concept that early in our history as slaves here in America, the Black mother was brutalized, sodomized, raped, and impregnated by the white master, causing us to have a mulatto child born from her womb. And that mother knew how to receive all the damage and the adversities that came against her, and yet she loved the child that was in her womb and taught that child to love everyone, not to hate the father who raped her. We have a lot of concepts today about when someone is raped, we want to abort the child, but that never was a process in the mind of the Black mother. And she taught the child clearly that you're not a product of the man who raped me. He dropped his seed into my womb, but that's not what caused my impregnation. Said God breathed on my womb. You're not a child of abuse. You're not a child of disadvantage, but you're a child of the blessing of God, loving me enough to bless you in my womb. Your life is not because of the seed was deposited. Your life is because God breathed on my womb. And the ability she had to teach that child to love and to understand the process that love always conquers hate and destroys the darkness. She was then demanded to nurse the white woman's baby. And then after that, she had the responsibility of taking the body, the container that she lived inside of, purifying that body, sanctifying it, and coming to her black man as though she was a virgin, pure as pure can be, and gave birth to her own black child, and taught that child to stand by and watch and wait his turn. She only had 2 tits and 3 children. She nursed all 3 children, taught all 3 of them to love. And that love is what has kept America together. And when she taught her black child, your time will come, and when you will have all of me. She knew how to come to her husband, who had been a slave and brutalized all through the day. But when she approached him, she came to him in the purity and the love that gave him the strength to survive. That's what Mother Black America is about. It's not just beginning in this nation, but it goes back to Mother Hagar, understanding how to receive abuse and to turn the other cheek. And often when we talk about turning the other cheek, we talk about turning our containers, letting somebody slap the house I live in. That's not what the scripture means. The scripture says, don't turn your container around a second time. Turn your content around, turn your mind around, turn the way you think about others. They thought about you in negativity, they thought about you in destruction. You think about them in construction. And that ability of that mother to love and to teach this nation to love, and what has kept us together as a nation throughout the years has been the purity of her love. And we watched our nation survive because of the vision and the love and the strength of the vision that Mother Black America brings to this nation and to the world. And that's what we're doing on June the 8th. We're lifting up this theme and this thesis, the love of Mother Black America. The concept has 2 prongs. One, to create a relief for the grief that has been inflicted upon Black mothers because their children have died at the hands of police brutality, the hands of white Ku Klux Klansmen, and even Black on Black crime has caused Black mothers and all other mothers to suffer and to have pain and grief. On the other side of the coin, many of our young men and women have been damaged by violence, and they are in wheelchairs, crippled, like my grandson, Michael McClellan, 13 years. His mother, Vicky, has taken care of him, been the prime caretaker. What we're coming together on June the 8th at 10 a.m. at Landmark Ministries, 6342 East 71st Avenue in Commerce City. And thanks to Pastor Faison, Pastor Bill Faison, Pastor Angela Faison, making their facility available. Our goal is to honor 10 mothers who had the damage and loss by violence in death or by pain in wheelchairs, and to lift up what happened to the mothers, not just to rehearse the damage that was done, but show how we move through the pain to the power that God brings, and show how we can successfully go beyond that damage that the enemy came. He attacked the containers, sometimes destroying the whole container and causing death. On the other side, leaving us with families who have to be prime caretakers. And that's a 24-hour, 365 day a year that I watch my daughter, Vicky, nurture and love and support her son, Michael McClellan. This program says we can win the battle. We can service one another. And we're setting up an adult daycare program as on one side, nurturing those who are in wheelchairs. On the other side, those who have been damaged by grief and having a grief center. And we need your help. We're asking you to take time, put a circle around that day, June 8, 10 a.m., Landmark Ministry, and be there with us. We're asking all the sons and daughters who came out of Mount Gilead. We had over 35 sons and daughters right here in the state of Colorado, not counting those around the country. We're asking you to sponsor a table at the event. The table is just $200. We want to keep the cost down because the goal is putting us together to put a platform that will cause us to bring permanent relief. And sometimes we have to understand you can't play ball unless you get in the ball game, get in the ballpark. Politics controls what goes on in our nation. We're highly political, and the church must be engaged. The Black church has been the vehicle that has made certain presidents and senators and congressmen get elected. They don't get elected without the involvement of the Black influence, not just the Black vote, but the Black influence. So at the end of the day, we want to be able to pull together the Black church community across this state. We're asking 5 different cities: Aurora, Denver, Boulder, Colorado Springs, and Pueblo. Out of each one of those 5 cities to pull together 5 basic church ministries and come together on that day to put in place a process where we develop a platform for what we need for the Black community in Colorado and the Black community across this nation. Every Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m., we have a national network, been doing it for over a year, tying together the Black church community across this nation. What we do in Colorado will regurgitate all around the nation. We must pull our own community together. Together, we stand. Divided, we fall. We have controlled politics because of the love of Mother Black America. When you look at Colorado, look at Denver, we've had 24 years of a Black mayor leading the city of Denver, and both Black mayors tremendously successful. Wellington Webb the first, Michael Hancock the second, and during their administration, not only Black folk prospered, but Denver and Colorado prospered. And all around this nation, we saw the blessing because Black and white came together. It's my thesis that it always will take the Black and white key if you're going to play the Star Spangled Banner or sing Amazing Grace. Come and join together with us on June the 8th, 10 a.m., 6342 East 71st Avenue, Landmark Ministry. Look forward to seeing you there. We're going to lift this light up, and the voice of Mother Black America will call her children together. We'll come out of this light of violence, and we can bring a peace that surpasses all understanding.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I am excited. The Urban League is definitely going to have a table there. It's so incredible to see there is still a passion in you, Papa. I'm gonna call you Bishop because I don't want folks thinking they can call you Papa. Only I can call you Papa. Sure. So it's so incredible to see you still passionate and still have that fire to show up for our community, despite the healing our community needs, the hurt, the harm sometimes that our community gives. Can you explain what has kept you on the path of being a warrior for us? What has kept you rooted in saying, I'm still going to wake up and say, I've got to show up?
Well, one of the greatest blessings God gave me was my beloved wife, Dr. Phillips. A power within me that always reminded me who I could become. I've been so blessed with God giving me what I call the greatest gift he have. I often said God only had one quill, and I knew God loved me because he gave her to me. And her ability to stay inside of my mind, inside of my heart, inside of my understanding, much like what Adam said about Eve. God designed Adam in such a way that he put Eve on the inside. He created them at the same time and allowed her to go up and down his mind, his understanding, and bless him in such a wonderful way. And then God brought her outside and presented Eve to Adam, and Adam got so excited, began to scream, whoa, 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 whoa. Ended up calling her whoa man, because he said, this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, and for this cause should a man separate himself from both his father and his mother and cleave to his wife only. When you have someone like a Elaquilla Phillips who walk with me and talk with me, often people say that I was all running around the world trying to heal the world. Well, I do have a world view I was concentrating on America. She reached beyond America and touched 67 nations around the world. But inside of my mind, inside of my heart and spirit, when I'd been beaten down in community, broken and almost abused, I could always make it back home. When I got home, I knew I had a woman who loved me, who cared for me. Back to this theme of Mother Black America. She knew how to be the mothering spirit on the inside, how to encourage me. And she walked with me through all the kinds of storms. A man needs a good woman, a good wife to walk with him. When you learn how to receive that wife, and allow her to be that inner strength. When my anger would rise up, she would control it and say to me, take your time, Acen. And if you're angry with somebody, don't respond to them in the same way they attacked you, but learn how to turn the other cheek and let that love flow. That was my inner strength. And she reminded me, there's a theme that she talks about, and we sing it sometime. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. And she wasn't talking about the simplicity of what we many times miss. She said, when I got up this morning, I came out of the depth of darkness. I came inside the light, but I chose to put my thinking process on correctly. And when you learn how to think correctly, you can change your conduct and activity. One of the things God gifted me with was a gift of love. And he taught me the power of love. He says, now, love really works. Many times we talk about it, we don't understand the power it has. He said, it doesn't matter what anybody does to you. That's not what develops and makes you who you are. It's who you choose to be. Every choice you make has consequences. So if you choose to respond with love when somebody attacks you with hate, so love will always be the victor. I learned how to love folk, not because they love me, but I made it my choice. And then I learned one other great thing, that God blesses you when you learn how to admit that you make mistakes. I watched God choose to use me when I knew I wasn't qualified to preach, wasn't qualified to be a leader. He said, I'm the one who qualified you. I called you, not because you had the ability. I called you because I chose to use your container. And if you allow me to come in you, I'll be the power. I'll be that principal factor that gives you strength always to climb your mountains. From a child up, from 4 years old, I understood God had a call on my life. And born in Hillhouse, Mississippi, grew up in Clarksville, Mississippi. At 4 years old, I watched them drag my uncle up and down the streets of Mississippi, hung him, tarred and feathered him. As a child, that's been 85 plus years ago. I can't get it out of my mind. But the real challenge is 2 years ago, my cousin was hung in Clarksville, Mississippi, the same city, almost on the same street. That meant 80 some years later, nothing has changed. That's what fuels the fire inside of my soul today. We have to fight for the right to be free. But once you win the freedom, you have to fight to maintain the battles that you won. Too often as a community, we fight to win the battle. We forget to fight to maintain what we have. I looked at what we saw happen just a couple of years ago, and when we lost 5 points as an economic wheel in Denver. When I first got here in 1954, 5 points was the prime promotion for all that went on in the Black community. The best of the Black community walked proudly up and down 5 points. It was greater than what happened in Oklahoma. It indeed was a Black Wall Street. And yet, Black men and Black women knew how to love each other. But on Sunday, they closed down 5 points. And everybody went to church. The church in the street had communion one with another. We knew how to love one another no matter where. And the God we served was the same God in the church that's in the street. And sometimes we get totally confused, as we are much today. That's not the continuity between street and church as it needs to be. God is the same God. He loves everybody. We want to love somebody. God chose to love us. And when he gave me the gift of love and understood the power it has, It has been the thing that has strengthened me day to day. I walked 10 years side by side with Dr. King. The joy was watching him teach me and train me how to let love preside, let love be the victor in your life. We've come a long way from where we started from. We have a lot to be grateful and thankful for, but we got to maintain what we won. We were challenged by our forefathers never to lose 5 points. And yet today, we're marching, we're going to celebrate Juneteenth on top of 5 points. The land we no longer own, we no longer control. During pandemic, 50% of all the black businesses in this nation were lost. That didn't happen to any other race but us. We have to be specific about who we are and never be ashamed of who we are. Some of us, as we talk about, we need to be at the table. We're not at the table, we're on the menu. That's tragic. But worse than that is to be at the table and still have us on the menu. We've got blacks sitting at the table and still letting our community be on the menu. You cannot just sit in a seat, not understand your responsibility to your community. We are responsible one to another. And there are many poor whites and other nations who look to us to make the pathway, and they count on us to be together. And when we're together, they follow us. And our influence is what caused us to get Mayor Webb elected, Mayor Hancock elected, Rhonda Fields elected. They weren't elected by the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party that most of us, and I'm a part of, never has given strength to help us move where we need to move. We always had to fight against it. The first year that Mayor Webb won the first term, his Democratic Party ran a white woman against him after his first term. We had to go back to the streets, back to the tennis shoe, and do the same thing over again to get him elected. It was only the third time he got a slight endorsement. We had to fight within our party. The Democratic Party, bless their hearts, have never, ever nominated anybody black to go to Washington, D.C. We have Joe Neguse there now, but that's not because of our ability to get the party to do it. We have to give thanks to the governor of Polis. He made that choice. And right now, where he serves at his pleasure. We should have been able to watch the party say thanks to black community. They've never won an election as a Democratic Party without the support of the black church. It's time now for us to take notice and look at where we are, build our own platform, and say clearly to them, this time around, you're going to have to endorse our platform. Our people have suffered long enough. It's time for us now to come to the table and dress the table and put our agenda on the table. And we need black and white walking together hand in hand. We need to make a process like Mother Black America that will bring all of us into oneness. Our nation is too strong, too many resources to have hungry people walking the streets. And then when you don't agree with the system, they get rid of you. We got another challenge right now. A young black woman on TV now talking about being set aside, ostracized, because she chose not to go along with the system. The system keeps destroying black, white, yellow, and brown, and money keeps controlling. The love of it continues to destroy us as a people.
How do you address, as you said so much, and I can hear my generation. I can hear y'all. When often we talk about how great it was for you to be walking with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and all of those things. What integration provided, what it didn't provide, and also to everyone watching. I hope that these fireside chats with the elders bring in clarity for their position. And also that doesn't mean that they are asking for blind following. However, it does mean that if we don't take heed to the wisdom, then we are doing ourselves a disservice as well as the generation behind us. So I hope that these fireside chats are encouraging and also supporting the repair, right? That is necessary. So, Papa, when you say Martin Luther King, in my generation, we are very distinct on there is a group of us who say I would have been with Martin. There's a group of us that say I would have been with Malcolm. I know your perspective, but I would love for you to share like what the conversation, what the thought process is in your wisdom for the group of folks that say we need our own, we need to build our own platforms, we need to have our own tables versus being at the table. What is your rebuttal to saying you've lived through it, we are only here because of your labor? What can you pour into us as we are exhausted and saying we want change, we want it in our own system, we want it in our own way? How would you give us some understanding?
Let me see if we can help to understand. Many times I hear people saying the choice between Malcolm and Martin. That's a misnomer. Malcolm and Martin is one concept. Malcolm and Martin walked together in mind. And had Martin not had Malcolm shaking trees, he wouldn't have had any fruit to catch. What caused them to kill both Malcolm and Martin was because they were coming together. When Martin came back from Mecca with a new, Malcolm came back from Mecca with a new understanding of what really was our connection one to another. A house divided against itself can't stand. You've got to understand there's not a distinctive difference between what Martin is doing and what Malcolm is doing. And when Malcolm and Martin connected and they had planned to meet together, I know because I was the bridge there, and they killed both of them to keep them from coming together. Every time we begin to connect our family together, somebody loses their life. When you look at what happened to both Martin and Malcolm, they were destroyed from within. It was not possible for the Ku Klux Klan to kill Martin or to kill Malcolm without using black folk to get it done. When we divide ourselves against it, we look at Martin, somebody had to make sure he was in the Lorraine Hotel on a certain floor, coming out on a certain time, position himself to be shot down by a bullet. The same thing happened with Malcolm. When he gets home, get back to his own meeting inside of his own mosque, somebody comes up with a gun inside of his own house, destroying ourselves. When you look at what we're doing now, every now and then someone wants to divide the Muslim community from the Christian community, from the Jewish community. That doesn't make any sense. We're all sons and daughters of Abraham. Abraham had one God that he worshiped, Melchizedek. You find Melchizedek in the Torah for the Jews. You find it in the Quran for the Muslims. The same God is in the Bible, Old and New Testament for the Christians. When we understand the only one who really wants to divide us is Satan himself, that negative mind that says to us, destroy one another. Right now, we got two generations that are disconnected. You, my granddaughter, my first granddaughter, it doesn't make sense for you to start redoing what I did. You don't catch up with me. You get on my shoulders and stand. Our young generation need to take advantage of the blood, sweat, and tears we put there. What you see today didn't drop out the sky. It took a lot of sweat, blood, and tears to get us here. A lot of folk died. We talk about John Lewis. John Lewis, just one person. Countless hundreds of folk died in those struggles. I was on the bridge. I don't talk about what happened there. I was there. Took 130 folk from Colorado to march together. It wasn't just black folk. It was blacks and whites, yellows and browns, Jews and Gentiles, Muslim and Christian, working together. I took 130 down. We came back with 129. One young man died, white Jewish young man from Boulder, Colorado, died fighting together with us. Now, when you look at what you're doing, we need to be entrepreneurs. Right now, Our generations have decided to go to work for somebody. This is a capitalistic system. You'll never be victorious in America working a job. Somebody has to be in business, turning over dollars in our community. When you look at what's going now in Aurora, Colorado, from Yosemite all the way to 225, there's not a black business on Colfax. There used to be a time when they had black businesses everywhere. We were entrepreneurs. We were businessmen. We learned that in the old country. We brought it here with us. Today, everybody's looking for a job. We have to get involved in economics. We have to stay involved in politics. We have to learn. Don't let somebody divide you from yourself. The concepts that we're listening to today, our young folk need to hear us, and we need to listen to our young folk. Much of what I keep up with is what I hear on the streets from the young folk. I didn't start preaching in the pulpit. I started preaching on 5 points in a pool hall. I came up through gangs and gang violence. I came up through all kind of challenges, understood what it meant to be the disadvantaged one. You cannot be ashamed of who you are. The challenge we have today, we've got a lot of our young generation don't want to be black. Now that's got nothing to do with you, man, somebody white. That we have to be honest. I cannot go down 5 generations in my own house without running into all kind of white folk in my bloodstream. It's not about skin, it's about kin. It's about kinship, understanding how to be one together. There are a whole lot of folk who work with us when we work with ourselves. But you'll never be ashamed to be black. We did not have integration. What we had was desegregation. From 1960 going forward, we start copying somebody else's agenda. We put our agenda aside as though it had no value. The things that we learned from our ancestors, not just here in America, stop letting our history start from slavery. No. We were kings and queens before slavery. We hear James Brown talking about I'm black and I'm proud. James Brown didn't create that thought. The first one who said I'm black and I'm proud was a man named Solomon, the richest and the wisest man ever to live on planet Earth. His words was, I'm black, but I'm good looking. I'm rich. I'm prophetic in mind. And no man was as wise as Solomon, as rich as Solomon, but he was black. We have black kings and queens all over Africa. The pyramids were built by black folk. Egypt is in Africa. Palestine is in Africa. To be very honest with you, we all came from Africa. And we're on our way back there now. When we connect with ourselves and learn how to walk together, stop letting somebody divide you from yourself. You've got to know how to love one another. We did that. That was our strength. Not that we were stronger and wiser. We need our young people. We can still talk some talk. We can't do much walking. If you put my talk together with your walk, you got some strength. If you stand on my shoulders, stop trying to run in my shoes. Stop worrying about running in my shadow. Create your own shadow. The message is the same. The production of the message is different. Our young generation don't need to be trying to talk about horse and buggies. No, this is a jet age. We know how to move mind and let mind move buildings. When we hear the scripture unfold, you can speak to the mountain. We do that now with computers. We do that with a voice control. When we put our voices together, we become powerful. I love all of my children. I love all of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I never allow anybody to separate me from generation to generation. We watched our young people struggling at the Martin Luther King rally and wanting the right to speak. That's your platform. You don't have to beg anybody. That's your movement. You have the responsibility of taking it and going further. I don't expect you to do what I did. I expect you to do better. You've got more to work with. You've got all that I have to give you, plus what God has added to your generation. This generation we're in now is a tremendous generation. I'm so proud of all of my grandchildren and the work they do. They tease me sometimes about trying to win the world, but I watch you, Dr. Auset, and the way you move. doing all that you do. And I smile because you do more than your grandpa can do. And I thank God for what you do. Please don't ever stop being who you are and doing what you do. And tell your generation, take a little time and understand these old folk love you and we got your back. You can walk on our back and stand tall because there's never a time that this generation that I live in was going to criticize your generation. No, no, no. I don't care how many mistakes you make. We'll be there to catch you before you finish falling. And that's where we stand. Let's stand together. Together is what we're talking about. When we hear that voice, it's always the voice of our children dying. If I could just hear my mother's voice again. Let's lift that voice. Let's let that voice call us together. And let's let the oneness that God has gifted us with make the difference in this nation and in this world today.
Thank you, Papa. I think the fireside chats with our elders once a month, that is the goal. And just to share with the audience, this has been a thought since we started the show. Actually, a dear friend of mine, it was his idea because he came and sat with Papa and I and was like, this is what y'all do every night. And he was like, you need to share this because there could be some healing between generations. And sometimes because our approaches, our techniques may have grown, may have evolved to fit the time, there's been a miscommunication. There's been a rewiring that it's assumed that the elders are not supporting us. And that just has never been my truth. That has never been a reality for me. I come from a family of strong elders. My grandfather for sure is my biggest hero. But I have Uncle Lee, I have Aunt Shirley. I mean, there's so many. Both Aunt Shirley's, right? Aunt Shirley, who is transitioned as well. So, I mean, I've always sat at the feet of elders, and my goal for this once a month is that my generation does get back to understanding the value of listening and just being with your elders and hearing this wisdom. I do want to close. I have been doing a lot of, first we do have a guest. Dear friend of mine, Kimberly, is in the Zoom with us. Hey sis, did you want to join? If you do, you can go ahead and unmute if you have anything to say or want to bring anything. If not, I will share the connection to my grandparents that we just realized. But Kim, if you're there, you can unmute. Okay, I'm going to assume she doesn't want to. She's usually the quiet one. Oh, she said, hey, y'all, in the text. As many folks know, my grandmother has transitioned. As Papa has been ministering to all of us, we didn't lose her. We just have her in a new way, and she's in us. So when I posted, Kim has been my friend for years, and she was like, I had no idea those were your grandparents. I went to the daycare with Big Mama. And so, like, this is just how connected we are. And this is why it's important for us to be leading with love. But, Papa, I do want to close out with the beautiful display of love and 66 years and beyond that you have been able to be the husband of Dr. Elaquilla Phillips. Can you just give us some wisdom on how my generation, anybody, can find healthy, beautiful, nurturing love, and what inspired you to love so greatly, so intentional, and continue to do it? Like, what can you give us about the joy and love of being married to Gammy?
Well, one of the key things is to learn how to receive. Quite often we're majoring in trying to learn how to give, but the real blessing is learning to quieten your spirit and hear the voice of God, to hear God guiding and directing you. I was blessed to meet my beloved wife because I was homeless. I didn't have any place to stay, and I was working at Sparker Car Wash, met her brother, Louis Leon Gator Jr. And at the end of the day, he asked me to take him home. And I said, fine. He said, it won't be out of your way. I said, no, anywhere you live is not out of my way because I'm sleeping in my car. And he said, oh, you don't have to do that. And he said, my mother will give you a place to stay. I said, boy, your mama don't know me. She never met me. He said, no, you don't know my mother. We got to the house and she was screaming at him because he'd messed up her towels and with his concholine hair. She just went off on him and he screamed, said, Mother dear, got a friend with me. His name is Ace. He doesn't have a place to stay. She immediately quit arguing with her son, rushed to the door, took one look at me. I never will forget these words. She said, son, come in. Your room in my house is downstairs. I said, what kind of woman is this? Just met me, don't know my name, call me her son. Tell me I have a room in her house downstairs. On my way downstairs, I looked out of my left eye, saw this beautiful girl in a red and white checkered dress playing the piano, and took just one look and said, that's going to be my wife one day. Woke up the next morning and found out she was engaged to some fella in Lowry Air Force Base. And I said to myself, I got to get that ring off her finger and that fella out of her mind. Well, it took about 2 years.
Oh, I think we lost him. It's okay. You know what? I bet I know what happened. His computer probably died. But I will finish the story because I know the story. So he found out that my grandmother was engaged to a serviceman. And he said he's got to figure out how to get that ring off of her finger and that fella out of her mind. So for the next 2 years, no joke. So when they talk about you need to have friends first, it's real. For 2 years, they were just friends. Remember, he was friends with my great uncle, Gammy's brother. And they even all wound up like getting an apartment together. My grandmother had her room, my great uncle had his room, and my grandfather had his room. And they all operated like brothers and sister. So much so that they would travel back and forth to Kansas City. And my grandfather, people don't know this, but my grandmother is actually my grandfather's second wife. And he had Uncle Junior and excuse me. So I have 2 uncles in Kansas City from my grandfather's first marriage. So they would go back to Kansas City because my grandfather is a good father. And my grandmother was so much friends with my grandfather that she became friends with his first wife, even in the transition of them divorcing, but they continued to support and love each other as sisters and all of that good stuff. Well, this was before my grandfather was fully bishop, pastor, anything. So he was a little bit of a player. And so they were leaving Kansas City and they were making their rounds to say goodbye, my great uncle and grandfather. And my grandmother said, oh, Lord, we're about to go to this particular girl's house. It's going to be all day because my grandfather probably was charming her. And he said, I bet you I'll be back in 5 minutes. This is 2 years of them showing up as brother and sister. And him protecting her in various moments and all of that. All of that is in there as well. And she said, I bet you won't. And she said, no, she said, what do you want to bet? And he said, a kiss. He said he went in that house and he was back in 2 minutes. And her brother, once they got back to Denver, ran in the house and said, Acen and Laquilla are in love and blah, 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 because I guess apparently they kissed from Kansas City to Denver. So that is the story of how my grandmother and grandfather's um, marriage began. I think it's really important. What I take from that story is first his declaration, right? And I tell my grandfather this all the time, and I'm gonna wrap it up. But I tell my grandfather this all the time. It is very hard to find a partner when you have such a dynamic example of marriage. And even in trying to attempt it, right? I've been married twice. Even in trying to mimic it, it is very hard to find someone who loves you in that capacity. But the first thing that my grandfather did was make the declaration, unbeknownst to my grandmother. And he was clear, and he made a conscious effort to show up in every other way before he showed up as a partner and a husband. So she experienced him as a friend, as a brother, as a protector, even as a provider, and all of these other, just the best interest of my grandmother was always a priority to my grandfather, whether they were together or not, right? Like, he was clear, even in as he's doing his thing, he still is like prioritizing my grandmother. And my grandmother was oblivious, right, until that bet. And once that bet was made, probably some suppressed. I can't speak for her, but I can only imagine being in that situation when you have someone so great in friendship and someone so great in brotherhood make the declaration and say, you are a priority to me, and I will do whatever it takes to care, love, nurture, and be your protector and provider for the rest of your life. And he did. And so for 66 years, they not even just to me and my family, like, there are so many people who have shared so many loving stories about my grandparents. Up until she transitioned, they still held hands. They still got one Coke, two straws. She still could take his breath away. She would walk in and you could literally see him almost fall in love again, stand in love, I should say. And in my grandmother's transition, she, as many people know, she was suffering from dementia. But one thing she didn't forget was my grandfather's love. And she still would call him her boyfriend and giggle and do all of the things. And that is the love, right, that we need to, what is the word? Strive for, getting back to where we are comfortable, safe, and knowing that being vulnerable and transparent brings so much joy. And if you knew the Phillips, you knew that their love and support for each other is exactly what gave the love and support for them to do their work. I think my grandfather joined us. Papa, did you get back in?
I got back in. Can you hear me?
Yes. Did your computer die?
Yeah, it did.
I figured. So I told this story. I finished this story. So why don't you close us out? We're at the last couple of minutes of the show. Why don't you close us out and share whatever you want to share in the next 2 minutes? You have the floor. But I did share the story of how you were Gammy's friend, brother, protector, all of that, and then won her over in 2 years.
Bless your heart. Thank you so much. It's good to have a granddaughter who knows my story. And that's the kind of thing I would want to hope that we connect from generation to generation. It's so important to know your story of how God has blessed you to bring you to where you are today, and how important it is to be able to allow him to continue to use you in a mighty way. God has so many messages he wants to continue. And I've been sharing this with my family, that When we understand the power of transition, we go back to the love our ancestors knew before we came to America. In Africa, they had the term called Niger, the God we already knew. And that whole transition was that there is a joining relationship and fellowship between time and eternity. And what God revealed to me after all the years of my preaching and proclaiming the gospel, when my wife transitioned, she had been in transition for several years, and she's been trying to teach me that God walks both in time and eternity together. And quite often she would say, I talked to Mother Day this morning. I said, no, baby, Mother Day died 50 years ago. She said, no, Mother Day is not dead. I talked to her this morning. She turned around and said she talked to her brother Leroy. And one time she called Leroy and she was looking at me and I answered her. She said, hello, Ace, how you doing? I was talking to Leroy. It took God transitioning her and then talking back to me to help me to understand she was getting me ready to understand that her mother was in eternity with God. She was not dead, she was alive. And she could talk to her while she was still tabernacling on earth. She was talking to her mother in eternity. And she was giving me an example of what I could do once she transitioned. My heart was broken when she transitioned. It was heavy. God lifted the burden by simply saying, Acen, why are you weeping? He said, to die is gain. So all these years you talked about absent from the body means present with the Lord. If you leave here at 12:01, you enter eternity at 12:01. So Quill is not dead. She's alive. When she left the earthen house she was living in, she came into me. As long as she was in earth, I lived in her. When she transitioned, she now lives in me. Said, Quill is in me. And I said, that's a little relief, Lord, but I still miss her. She said, no. So Quill is in me, but I'm in you. And Acen, if I'm in you and Quill is in me, it means Quill is also in you. So just like you talk to me and say, hello, Jesus, can you tell Quill hello? She's right here with me. Why don't you speak to your beloved? I spoke to Quill and Quill spoke back to me. I'm alive. I've been getting you ready. You thought I had dementia, but I was simply walking in 2 dimensions. Said you can walk in eternity while you're tabernacling in time. Your container is in eternity, but your content has the ability to talk with God and walk with God in eternity. He said, that's how I created man in the very beginning. God and Adam walked together with their voices connecting while God was in eternity and Adam was in time. He said, that's why I created man for the fellowship we can have. He said, stop telling folk that those who transitioned in Christ are dead. They're not dead. They're alive. You don't have to weep, but just a moment, because the transition has already taken place. If you allow her to talk to you, you can hear her. So the problem is you need to quieten yourself and learn how to listen. The greatest challenge we have is quieting our own spirit and learning to listen. Most of us never listen. We wait on our own turn to talk. We miss each other in communication because we don't listen. When the mind breaks, you have the ability to change the channel, adjust, and reach that loved one, wherever they are. Rather than doing that, we think they're out of their minds. They just can't communicate. You have the right to change the channel and talk to those who are in eternity while you're still in time. It's a joyous relationship. I can now wake up every morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. And when my mind is on him, my beloved Quill is inside of him. Take that, let it bless you as you share through the grief to the joy, the celebration, the fellowship you have with the Lord. I'm praying mightily, Dr. Auset, for my community to connect with your community. I really want to learn better how to listen to my children and my grandchildren. The joy of my life is my grandchildren. They know how to come by and bring all kind of joy. And just their presence when they walk in, celebration comes into my soul. And then when they take the time to sit around and listen to the old man talk, And sometimes we old folk tell the same story over and over again. It gets better the more we tell it. And if you can learn to listen to us and we learn to listen to you, we can walk together, mind and mind. And the power of your voice and my voice walking together will make the journey where we're trying to go with this concept of the love of Mother Black America. God bless you. God smile on you, and we're praying mightily for the joy and the celebration. Thank God for this new outlet that Dr. Auset is giving us, and she is indeed a healer. Her presence brings in the joy. Her countenance is the healing. That's something she gifted from her grandmother. My quill could walk in a room, and the healing was in her. The anointing was so strong. She would draw people who had been broken back together in oneness. That's the power of God's voice and God's mind inside of us. God bless you. God smile on you, and God knows we love you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Bishop Acen Phillips. Again, June 8th at 11 a.m. Is it 11 or 10, Papa?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. at Landmark Church. Make sure that you are getting your table. Tables are 200. I'm excited to see Qualisha is in the chat. Hey, Qualisha, she will be one of the mothers that are going to be honored. My Aunt Vicky will be honored. And I would be honored. It is real that violence has impacted our family, and it has been the mothers who have uplifted us, who have patched us back together, who have held the space. My twin aunt, Aunt Vicky, is becoming the matriarch in this family and just doing it with the most grace and the closest replication of Gammy, and she's doing that all while holding up the space for Micah. And if you guys don't know, this has impacted our family in generations, and so we are all excited to support Papa and Mother Black America and showing up. Some of our mothers have. The other side of the transition has been grief. Some of the mothers have been lifestyle change. Some of it has been we've got to figure this out mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But as a family, we have come together, and we know that we're not the only mothers that have dealt with violence, and we want to provide that support. There are many other mothers. I am just highlighting the mothers in my family, but there are many other mothers who have been impacted by violence in some way with their children, and we are going to celebrate them all. Again, tables are $200. Bring 10 people. Listen, that is $20 for all of y'all to come, whatever your organization is, whatever your company is. Support. If you need more information, you can follow me. I am Healer Auset Miriam, and I will get you in contact, and we will get all of the logistics taken care of. Shout out to all of the elders who are putting this together with Papa, Mr. Virgil, Uncle Lee, Miss Dr. Seal, Dr. Brown, Seals. Gosh, there's just elders coming together, still doing this work, y'all. There's never going to be a such thing as retiring. We are still going to do this work. These are 89 plus folks still doing the work and showing up for our community, the minimum we can do. And as Papa said, just have a moment, an hour, y'all. We just spent an hour getting all of that wisdom, getting all of that knowledge, and all of that support, all of that love, and all of that history. Gosh, 5 points. What's our new 5 points? We're going to stop being upset about 5 points. Where is our new 5 points? Where is the new Black community? I love y'all. Thank y'all for being with me. Hello, everyone in the chat. I see you. I'm trying to get better with being able to maintain the chat too. Trying to get better. But thank you all for joining. This is show 6. We're going to get through June. We're going to take a break in the month of July and August, and then we'll be back with the shows in September, fresh shows, doing all of that. But all of June, starting this show on, it will be guests after guests after guests. You guys are just going to get to eavesdrop on how dope my village is. I love y'all. Shout out Damo, the most wonderful. Again, you are on our network, not just for the people. We are the people. I am your host, Healer Auset Miriam. Make sure that you are ready for the chakra class, ready for summer camp, and ready for August 3rd, because you're going to be kicking it with me all day. All right. I love y'all. Thank you so much. And we will see you next week. Peace.